Welcome to this deep dive. Today we're looking into Kyudo, the Japanese way of the bow. We've got quite a bit of material here.
Yes, a really comprehensive look at it. Philosophy, history, the practice itself.
And our aim, as always, is to pull out the key insights for you, the learner. Make it clear, engaging, maybe even surprising.
Exactly, because Kyudo, well, it's about so much more than just archery, isn't it?
It seems so. Okay, so let's start there. What is Kyudo, really?
Mm-hmm.
The source talks about a search for truth, goodness, and beauty. Sounds quite lofty.
It does, but it's meant to be very practical within the shooting itself, like gigness.
Right.
If you shoot with negative thoughts, say anger, the release might be forced, jerky. And the sound of the string, the sarun, it actually sounds dull. It shows a lack of that inner goodness, that harmony.
Wow, okay. So your mental state literally changes the physical outcome and even the sound. That's fascinating. What about beauty?
Beauty is in the grace of the movements, the dignity of the archer. There's a real elegance when it's done correctly.
Like a performance.
In a way, yes, but also the whole ceremony, the etiquette, it's all part of creating this atmosphere of respect and tranquility that contributes to the beauty.
Makes sense. It sounds incredibly mindful. And Zen Buddhism comes up a lot, right? How does that fit in?
Zen's influence is huge. You know, historically, it helped samurai achieve that kind of mental clarity needed for combat. Instant reaction, no hesitation.
Right.
But now, in modern Kyudo, those same principles are used for self-understanding. The practice becomes a way to explore your own mind.
So a philosophy born partly from warfare, now used for self-discovery. That's quite a journey.
It really is.
The source also mentions this idea of endless practice. If you can shoot perfectly, why keep going?
But can you ever really shoot perfectly? The idea is improvement is always possible.
Okay.
And it's not just about physical skill because, well, that fades with age, doesn't it?
Sure.
The focus shifts to the spirit. The spirit, the book suggests, has unlimited potential for growth. So it's about the striving, the journey of refinement itself.
The process, not just the result. Got it. Okay, let's step back into history a bit. Where did this all begin?
Well, archery in Japan is ancient, prehistoric even, for hunting. But the warrior archers, that's where the legends start.
Legends. Like who?
Well, there's Minamoto no Tamatomo. His bow was supposedly enormous, needed several men to draw it.
Seriously?
And the story goes, he sank an enemy warship with a single arrow. Probably exaggerated, but it was the kind of power associated with archery back then.
That's incredible and almost mythical. And wasn't there another famous one? Nasu no Yoichi.
Ah, yes. Yoichi is known for precision under pressure. Amazing story there.
Tell me about it.
During a sea battle, the enemy puts a fan on a ship's mast way out at sea, maybe 70 meters, and dares the Minamoto to shoot it.
In the middle of a battle.
Exactly. Yoichi, on horseback, apparently prays, the sea calms a bit, and thwack hits the fan's base with one arrow.
Wow. From horseback, on the water.
Supposedly. Again, maybe some legend mixed in, but it highlights the incredible skill and mental focus involved. Even back then, precision was key.
Definitely paints a picture. But then things changed, right? From Kijutsu, the war art, to Kyudo, the way, during the Edo period.
That's right. Peace came. Firearms became more common, so the bow's role in war lessened.
So they had to find a new purpose for it.
Kind of, yeah. They wanted to keep the art alive. Competitions became big, like the one at Sanji Sangado Temple in Kyoto.
Oh, I've heard of that, shooting down that long haul.
Exactly. Incredibly difficult. Low beams, distant target. It tested endurance like nothing else.
And someone shot thousands of arrows in a day.
Wasa Daiichiro. The record is just mind-boggling. Over 8,000 hits out of 13,000 arrows in 24 hours. Shows the dedication.
Unbelievable.
So during this peaceful time, the focus shifted more towards the mental, the spiritual side. That's the transition to Kyudo, the way of the bow.
From fighting skill to inner path. Which brings us to the spirit of Kyudo. There's that quote. Shooting with technique improves the shooting, but shooting with spirit improves the man.
A really central idea. The book talks about shin-ki, which is spirit. It breaks down into shin, heart, or mind, and ki, vital energy.
Ki, like life force.
Sort of, yeah. Everyone has ki, but harnessing it effectively in Kyudo needs a strong, stable mind. Self-control, emotional balance, that's crucial.
The mind directs the energy. Makes sense. What about mushin? No mind. That sounds empty.
It's a tricky concept. Not empty, really. More like free from conscious clutter.
Like being in the zone.
Exactly. Where thought and action happen almost simultaneously. Instinct takes over. You don't think about releasing, you just release. It's something you feel through practice, not just understand intellectually.
Experience over explanation.
Very much so. That's why masters often guide rather than just lecture.
And this relates to balanced effort, avoiding tsuki or gaps.
Yes, balance is key. Suki can be physical, like uneven tension in your shoulders or arms.
Okay.
Or it can be mental. Too much focus on one thing is as bad as not enough focus. You need this kind of relaxed alertness.
Like the cockfighting story in the book. Calm on the outside, ready on the inside.
Precisely that. A subtle, dynamic balance.
And all this leads towards discovering the true self. How does shooting an arrow help with that?
The idea is the target acts like a mirror. It reflects your state of mind, your focus, your flaws.
So missing isn't just missing.
Right. It tells you something about yourself in that moment. The goal becomes less about hitting the piece of paper and more about hitting the target as the self, achieving a kind of inner alignment.
Hoping the sound of the arrow hitting awakens something deeper. Powerful idea.
It is.
Let's talk about the place itself, the Kyudojo. It's more than just a range, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely. It's intended as a space for contemplation, for serious practice. You're meant to leave worldly worries at the door.
Setting a specific tone.
Yes, through respect, harmony, etiquette, bowing, cleanliness, mindful movement, it all creates this positive, focused energy. A sanctuary.
Are there different kinds?
There are. You have the Makiwara Kyudojo for close-up practice on a straw bundle. Good for basics. Then maybe a single target one. But the standard Kyudojo is the most common for group practice. It has the shooting hall, shajo, the arrow path, yamichi, the target, area, matoba. Even the layout, like the position of the kamisa, the honored seat, is traditional.
Every detail seems thought out. Okay, equipment. The bow, the yumi, it's quite distinctive.
It is. And while you can get synthetic ones now, which are easier to maintain, maybe better for beginners,
But
traditionalists really prefer bamboo. The book compares it to fine china versus plastic. There's a connection to the material, a feel that's considered important.
more authentic.
Something like that. And there are different types, lacquered ones, special ones like the Shigeto Yumi. They need care, reshaping even. It's part of the discipline.
And the string, the tsuru. Natural hemp is best.
For the sound, the surin, and the release, yes, hemp, asa, is prized, but it's not as durable as synthetic strings. So trade-offs.
And you have to maintain it with resin.
Right, kusune, pine resin, and rub it with the hemp pad or waraji to keep it in good shape.
Okay. Arrows, shiak, bamboo again.
Still highly valued. For the beauty, the feel, each ya has the shaft, the head, yajiri or yanona, different types for hunting, target, makiwara. The knock, hazu, often horn, shaped just right for the string, and the feathers.
Feathers from specific birds.
Traditionally, yes. Eagles, hawks, now more often turkey or goose. And there's even a difference between the first arrow, baya, and the second, otoya, based on the fletching. Care is crucial.
So much detail. And the glove, the yugaki.
That evolved, too. From simple thumb protection to these specialized 3, 4, or 5-finger gloves, usually deerskin with a hard thumb.
4 fingers. Why?
The yatsugeki was apparently popular for the long-distance shooting at Sanjo Sanjendo. Needs careful breaking in, kept dry.
Right. And finally, the target, motto. Different sizes.
Yeah, small fancy ones for ceremonies, big ones for long distance, and teki. The standard one for practice, kinteki, is 36 centimeters. Wooden frame, paper face.
Different patterns on the face, too.
Sometimes. Kasumimato, like mist, or Hoshimato, star, maybe for a specific practice or tests.
It's really clear how every single element is considered steeped in tradition.
Oh.
Yeah, the core action.
Yeah.
The Hassetsu. The 8 stages of shooting. Sounds very precise.
It is a very deliberate sequence. Each stage flows into the next. Starts with ashibumi.
Footing. Establishing the stance.
Exactly. Solid foundation. Then dozukuri, getting the body posture right. Shoulders, hips, feet aligned. The 3-cross relationship.
Okay.
Then yugame, readying the bow. This has parts. Torikake, setting the glove on the string. Tenuchi, gripping the bow correctly, which is crucial. And monomani, viewing the target. Focusing the days.
All before drawing.
All before drawing. And even in yugame, there are styles like shomen or shaman, facing the target differently. Depends on the school.
So much preparation. What's next?
Tsuchiyo koshi, raising the bow smoothly. Then hikiwake, the draw. This is ki, done in stages. Daisan, a partial draw, then the full draw.
How should that feel?
Like spreading the bow, expanding from your center, not just pulling with your arms.
Right. Then kai.
Kai, the completion of the draw. holding everything in balance, aim refined, breath controlled, a critical moment of potential.
And then, Hanare the Release. The book gets almost mystical here.
It's often seen as the heart of Kyudo. It shouldn't be forced, not something you make happen.
How does it happen then?
It's meant to be natural, spontaneous, like snow falling off a leaf when it's ready. It arises from the tension and balance built up in Kai.
A consequence, not an action.
Beautifully put. After Hanare comes Yugari, the bow turning in the hand.
I've seen that.
And Zanshin, the continuation, holding the form and spirit for a moment after the arrow's gone. Then finally, Yudeyoshi, lowering the bow. Every stage is vital.
It's like a choreographed ritual almost. So how do you learn this? Technique and practice.
Technique is the foundation, the stairway, as the book says. You need it to reach the spiritual level.
But don't get lost in just technique.
Right. Study it, master it, but then kind of forget it. Let it become natural. The book gives good principles. Be flexible, practice diligently, pay attention, strive for correctness, good manners always, and keep going back to basics.
Revisiting fundamentals. What about specific techniques? Like the grip tenuchi?
Super critical. Tiny changes there make a huge difference. Straight wrist, gentle forward push with the thumb base. It's very subtle.
Micro adjustments, macro results.
Exactly. And the book covers arrow position at full draw, the feeling of unfolding from the center at release. Lots of detail.
And standard practice, what does that look like?
Often involves focusing on tai-hai, the overall form, the bearing. Comes from correct posture, movement.
The basic postures you mentioned, standing, sitting.
Yes. Standing, chair-sitting, seiza. Group practice often happens seated in seiza, taking turns. There's etiquette for everything, even handling mistakes like dropping gear or string breaking.
And problem solving, common errors.
Yeah, the book has a great section on that. Bent wrist, align the bones, arrows going right, check your tenuchi, bow not turning, Gary. Probably the grip again, not enough space. Very practical advice.
Incredibly thorough. Okay, let's shift to the insights from the master, Onuma Hideharu Sensei. What wisdom does he share?
This part really adds depth. He says the highest purpose is, well, perfecting ourselves, even though actual perfection is probably impossible.
A lifelong aim.
Yes. He sees Kyudo as a way to face your own truth, your real ability, no excuses. It helps subdue the ego.
What makes a true master, in his view?
A generous heart, he says. The ability to positively influence students, not just technical skill.
He also mentioned longevity. How does Kyudo help with that?
It's holistic. Good posture, breathing, circulation, muscle tone, yes, but also keeping the mind alert and focused. It contributes to overall well-being.
Mental practice, too, visualizing.
Definitely. Observe good teachers, even imagine them. Shoot in your mind. And his advice on teaching is interesting. Don't overteach. Focus on the whole person.
Different approaches for men and women.
He touches on that, suggesting embracing natural strengths, finding balance. It's not about forcing everyone into the exact same mold.
What's the ultimate view of Kyudo for him?
At the highest level, he sees it almost as a service to the divine. Noble, elegant shooting. He calls it standing zen.
Standing zen. Simple, yet profound.
Right. Looks simple, takes a lifetime. It reflects who you are inside. And while spirit can sometimes transcend technique, you must learn technique first.
Why do different Kyudojo feel different?
He says they reflect the people, their focus. Is it more historical, ceremonial, spiritual? Balance is important. And he distinguishes skillful shooting, maybe accurate but bad form, from correct shooting. Look at the archer, not just the target.
What does he look for in beginners?
Sincerity, courtesy, neatness, being attentive, humility. The secrets aren't hidden. They're simple truths you discover through practice.
Like the target seeming to come closer.
Exactly, that feeling. And always keeping a beginner's mind, even after years. That's key for growth.
And testing. Grading.
Periodic checks. Mental, physical, technical. You learn more from failure than success, he believes. Examiners look for basics early on, character later. Natural form.
What do masters see in each other?
Depth of character, dignity, refinement, and hibiki, that resonance, the aftershock of ki.
Wow. And if you practice alone, what's essential?
Truth, goodness, beauty, balance, humility, perseverance. Keep those principles.
And the greatest gift?
The friendship, he says. The community with fellow practitioners.
That's a beautiful thought to end on. This deep dive, wow, it's shown Kyudo is so much more than I realized.
Yeah.
Far beyond just hitting a target.
Absolutely. The main takeaway for you, the learner, is just how holistic it is. Personal development, spirit, truth, it's all woven together. A true way.
It really makes you think, doesn't it? How might those principles balance mindful action, that search for inner truth, apply elsewhere in life? Something to ponder.
And remember, we've just skimmed the surface here. The source has bibliographies, directories. If you're intrigued, there are ways to learn much more, maybe even find a place to practice.
Well, thank you for joining us on this fascinating deep dive into the way of the bow. We hope it's given you some valuable insights, maybe even a few surprises.